The United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense latest intelligence update on Ukraine, August 31, 2023. Overnight, on August 29th to 30th, Russia experienced up to 5 separate strikes by one-way attack uncrewed aerial vehicles, the largest attack on Russia since the start of the conflict. Explosions were recorded in Moscow, Bryansk, and Ryazan, as well as at Pskov airbase close to the Estonian border. The attack on Pskov likely damaged several Russian military transport aircraft. During August 2023, Russia experienced 25 separate drone attacks, almost certainly carried out by one-way attack uncrewed aerial vehicles. Many of these uncrewed aerial vehicles have reached their targets, which likely means that Russian air defense is having difficulty detecting and destroying them. Russia is likely rethinking its air defense posture in the area between Ukraine and Moscow to better deal with these attacks. Previous strikes against Russian military air bases have led to the dispersal of Russian aircraft to locations across Russia. However, the recent strikes against Soltsy and Pskov have demonstrated that the uncrewed aerial vehicles have significant reach, making further dispersal more challenging. It is likely that Russia will have to consider the addition of further air defense systems to airfields that it considers to be at risk from uncrewed aerial vehicle attacks. General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine situation update as of 6 p.m. August 31, 2023. Day 554 of the Russian full-scale military aggression against Ukraine continues. During the day of August 31st, Russia launched 3 missile and 31 air strikes, 52 MLRS attacks at the positions of Ukrainian troops in various settlements. Unfortunately, the Russian terrorist attacks have killed and wounded civilians. Residential buildings and other civilian infrastructure were damaged. The likelihood of missile and air strikes across Ukraine remains high. During the day of August 31st, there were more than 25 combat engagements. Sivershchina and Sloboshanshina axes. Russians fired mortars and artillery at more than 20 settlements, including Sosnivka, Chernihiv Oblast, Saradin Abuda, Romashkov, Shalihain, Nova Sloboda, Sumy Oblast, Vovchansk, Krypony, Korechna, Mala Vovcha, Budarki, Kharkiv Oblast. Kupiansk axis. The adversary launched an airstrike in the vicinity of Kotly Rivka, Kharkiv Oblast. The settlements of Borova, Kupiansk, Kislivka, Kharkiv Oblast came under artillery and mortar fire of the adversary. Lyman axis. Russians launched airstrikes in the vicinities of Cherneshchina, Kharkiv Oblast, Novojehorivka and Bilohorivka, Luhansk Oblast. The adversary fired artillery and mortars at more than 10 settlements, including Nevsky, Bilohorivka, Luhansk Oblast, Rozdalivka, Verkno-Kamianzaki, Fedorivka, Donetsk Oblast. Bakhmut axis. Russians launched airstrikes in the vicinities of Bila Hora and New York, Donetsk Oblast. More than 15 settlements, including Minkivka, Bodanivka, Ivanivsky, Pivnitsna, Donetsk Oblast, suffered from Russian artillery shelling. Avdiivka axis. Russia fired artillery and mortar shells at the settlements of Oleksandropol, Novokalininov, Avdiivka, Shevern, Pervomaisyky, Donetsk Oblast. Marinka axis. The Ukrainian Defense Forces continue to hold back the Russian offensive in the vicinity of Marinka, Donetsk Oblast. Russians conducted unsuccessful offensives in the vicinity of Novomikhailivka. Russians launched an airstrike in the vicinity of Krasnohorivka. The settlements of Krasnohorivka, Pobjida, Marinka, Kurahov, Novomikhailivka, Katarinivka, Donetsk Oblast came under artillery fire. Shakhtarzyky axis. Russia launched airstrikes in the vicinities of Vuhledar and Staromayorsyky, Donetsk Oblast. The settlements of Vodane, Bohoyavlenka, Prikostivka, Blahodotne, Urozhainy, Donetsk Oblast suffered from Russian artillery shelling. Zaporizhia axis. Russians launched airstrikes in the vicinities of Novodenilivka, Robotyne, Orikhiv, Zaporizhia Oblast. More than 15 settlements suffered from Russian artillery shelling, including Novoderivka, Olehivsky, Chave-1, Huliai Pol, Lobkov, Plavny, Zaporizhia Oblast. Kherson axis. The settlements of Stanislav, Velitenziki, Antonivka, Kherson Oblast, suffered from Russian artillery shelling. At the same time, the Ukrainian Defense Forces continue to conduct the offensive operation on Melitopol axis, consolidating their positions and conducting counter-battery fire. During the day of August 31st, Ukrainian Air Force launched 12 airstrikes on the concentrations of troops and 4 airstrikes on the anti-aircraft missile systems of Russia. During the day of August 31st, the Ukrainian missile and artillery troops hit 1 artillery asset at Russia's firing position and 2 radar systems of Russia. The Institute for the Study of War Russian Offensive Campaign Assessment. Ukrainian forces continued counteroffensive operations near Bakhmut in Donetsk Oblast and in western Zaporizhia Oblast on August 31st, and reportedly advanced in both sectors of the front. The Ukrainian General Staff and Ukrainian Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar reported that Ukrainian forces continued offensive operations in the Bakhmut and Melitopol, western Zaporizhia Oblast, directions, and achieved unspecified success south of Orikhiv in western Zaporizhia Oblast. Maliar also stated that Ukrainian forces made gains in the Bakhmut direction. Ukrainian Chief of Missile and Artillery Forces Brigadier General Serhiy Baranov said Ukraine has attained parity in counter-battery capabilities with Russia. Baranov stated that NATO provided 30 to 40 kilometers range artillery, allows Ukraine to destroy Russian artillery and force repositioning further from the front line. Ukrainian officials previously indicated in late July that Ukraine's artillery campaign is degrading Russian counter-battery capabilities. Since mid-July, Russian sources have expressed concern over insufficient counter-battery capabilities, particularly in southern Ukraine. The Institute for the Study of War Key Takeaways today. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky highlighted domestic production of long-range missiles, likely promoting Ukraine's increased strike capabilities against Russian rear areas. Russia arrested a fringe ultranationalist military blogger for discrediting the military, part of efforts to silence critical voices without backlash. Russia allegedly detained 3 military bloggers who criticized the Ministry of Defense, sparking limited backlash. Imprisoned Russian ultranationalist Igor Girkin made likely futile political maneuvers to form an opposition group. Russian forces continued offensives along Kupiansk-Svatov-Kremina line, near Bakhmut, Avdiivka, Donetsk city, and unsuccessfully counterattacked in Donetsk-Zaporizhia border area in western Zaporizhia. Russia continues forcibly deporting and Russifying Ukrainian children.